The stars shimmered silently in the vast darkness of space. For centuries, 17 different alien species had built a peaceful galactic confederation. They shared technologies, solved problems together, and explored the universe. But one small blue planet made them nervous. Earth. Humans were different. They fought wars among themselves. They built weapons. They moved fast in their progress. And now, they had discovered how to travel faster than light. In the great glass dome of the Confederation Council chamber on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Krell Thax pounded his scaled fist on the table. His yellow eyes narrowed as he spoke to the gathered representatives. "The humans have done it," he said. "Our sensors detected their first faster-than-light test last week. My sources say they plan to build many ships. An Armada." The word sent whispers around the room. An Armada meant only one thing: war. Science Director Zorani stood up. Unlike most in the chamber, she had studied humans in secret for years. She was smaller than Krellfax, with blue skin that reflected the light. "We should not jump to conclusions," she said calmly. "Humans are curious by nature. Perhaps they wish to explore, as we do." "Knave." Krell. Thax hissed. "Have you seen how they treat each other? How can we expect them to treat us?" The council leader raised a hand for quiet. "We will watch them closely. If they build this Armada, we must act first, for the safety of all our worlds." On Earth, no one knew about the worried aliens or their plans. In a large building at the Space Defense Force headquarters, Commander Alan Wright looked at the ship through the observation window. The U.S. Pathfinder gleamed under bright lights as workers made final checks. Wright sipped his coffee. After 15 years of work, they had done it. The Pathfinder was ready. It wasn't big or heavily armed, but it could go faster than light. It would change everything. His assistant knocked on the doorframe. "Sir, the team is ready for the final briefing." Wright nodded and followed her to the conference room. Captain Lisa Morgan stood as he entered. She was tall with short brown hair and steady eyes. Wright had picked her himself to lead this mission. "Captain," he said with a smile, "tomorrow you make history." "We make history, sir," she replied. "Your design, our crew." Around the table sat the core team. Lieutenant Gregory Powell, a quiet man who could shoot straight. Dr. Olivia Martinez with her quick mind and quicker tongue. Chief Engineer Samuel Jackson, who knew the ship better than anyone, and Communications Officer Daniel Rodriguez, who never missed a signal. Wright turned on the screen showing their planned jump. "The politicians want a whole fleet of these ships, an Armada to show our strength. But I convinced them we need to test the waters first. One ship. Your ship." Captain Morgan nodded. "We'll be careful, sir." "This isn't about being careful," Wright said, his voice serious. "It's about being right. We don't know what's out there. The Pathfinder isn't just carrying people and equipment. It's carrying humanity's first impression." Later that night, as the crew slept in their quarters before launch day, strange lights moved in Earth's orbit. Confederation scout ships, invisible to Earth's sensors, watched and recorded. They sent their data back to Nexus Prime, where Krellthax used it to fuel fears of human expansion. "Look at their military exercises," he told the council. "Look at their weapons tests. They prepare for conquest." Only Zorani noticed something odd about the reports. Some details didn't match her own observations. Some images seemed altered. But before she could investigate further, news came that made everyone freeze. The humans had launched their ship. The Pathfinder had left Earth's orbit, and it was heading straight for a secret Confederation outpost. The U.S. Pathfinder moved through the darkness of space. Its engines hummed quietly as it traveled faster than light for the first time in human history. Inside the ship, Captain Lisa Morgan watched the stars blur past on the main screen. "System check, Mr. Jackson," she said. Chief Engineer Samuel Jackson looked up from his station. "All systems normal, Captain. The drive is working perfectly." Captain Morgan nodded. This was what they had trained for. The first human ship to reach beyond their solar system. No one knew what they might find out here. Dr. Olivia Martinez stood beside the captain. "Where exactly are we going?" she asked. "The Alpha Centauri system," Captain Morgan replied. "We'll take some readings, plant a flag, and head home." Simple first mission. But space had other plans for them. Lieutenant Gregory Powell looked up suddenly from his screen. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange ahead." "What is it, Lieutenant?" "A structure. Artificial. Metal. It's not on any of our charts." The crew fell silent. They had expected empty space. Not this. "Show me," Captain Morgan ordered. On the main screen, a large metal station appeared. It floated silently in space, its design unlike anything humans had created. Lights blinked along its surface. "Is it alien?" Communications Officer Daniel Rodriguez asked, saying what everyone was thinking. Captain Morgan stood straighter. "Looks like we're making history in more ways than one today. Mr. Rodriguez, try to make contact. Standard greeting messages on all frequencies." Rodriguez nodded and began sending signals toward the strange station. Inside the Confederation outpost, alarms blared. Commander Sesson of the Dravaki species rushed to the control room. His scaled skin reflected the red emergency lights. "Report," he barked. "Unknown ship approaching." An officer replied. "It doesn't match any Confederation design." Sesson's eyes narrowed. "Show me." The screen displayed the Pathfinder moving closer to their station. "It must be human," Sesson said. "The Council warned us they might come this way." "They're sending signals," another officer reported. "Is it an attack code?" Sesson asked. "We can't tell. Our translators don't work on their language." Sesson remembered the warning from Ambassador Krulfax. Humans are dangerous. They come to conquer. Their armada will destroy us all. "Activate defense systems," Sesson ordered. "Fire a warning shot across their path." On the Pathfinder, everything happened at once. Energy spiked from the station. Powell shouted, "They're firing weapons." A bright beam of light shot past the ship, missing it by meters. "Red alert," Captain Morgan commanded. "Shields up." The crew scrambled to their stations as the ship rocked from another blast, this one grazing their hull. "Damage report," Morgan called. "Hull breach on Deck 3, Jackson responded. "Emergency force fields holding. Drive system damaged." Dr. Martinez grabbed a medical kit. 2 crew members injured in engineering. Captain Morgan made a quick decision. "Mr. Powell, arm defensive systems only. Mr. Rodriguez, keep trying to communicate. Tell them we mean no harm." Powell looked worried. "Captain, if they fire again." "We defend ourselves, but we don't escalate," she said firmly. "We're explorers, not warriors." The ship shook again as another blast hit them directly. "Drive failing." Jackson yelled over the alarms. "We can't run." Rodriguez worked frantically at his station. "Captain, I think I'm getting something." A video signal coming through. The main screen changed to show Commander Sesson's reptilian face. He spoke words they couldn't understand, but his tone was clear: anger and suspicion. "Mr. Rodriguez, run our translation program," Morgan ordered. "Let's try to explain ourselves." As Rodriguez worked, more Confederation ships appeared around them. The Pathfinder was surrounded, damaged, and alone, millions of miles from home. "Captain," Powell said quietly, "I think we found what we came looking for, but it found us first." Captain Morgan looked at the screen filled with alien ships. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to happen. Not with weapons and fear. "Open all channels," she said. "If they can hear us at all, they need to know the truth. We are one ship. Just one. And we came in peace." On Earth, Commander Alan Wright stood frozen in front of a large screen. The message from the Pathfinder was broken, coming in pieces between long silences. But what he heard chilled his blood. "Attacked by unknown aliens. Ship damage. They think we're invasion force." The message cut out again. Around him, the control room was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Then all at once, everyone started talking. "Get that signal back," Wright shouted over the noise. "Find them." A technician looked up with wide eyes. "Sir, the signal's gone." "But we got coordinates. They're in the Alpha Centauri system." Wright ran his hand through his hair. What did they mean by invasion force? "We only sent one ship." President Susan Miller walked into the room, followed by her advisors. Her face was serious. "I need answers, Commander," she said. "What's happening to our ship?" Before Wright could answer, the main screen lit up. The face that appeared wasn't human. It had scales, yellow eyes, and sharp teeth. Everyone in the room gasped. "People of Earth," the alien said in rough English, "I am Ambassador Krellfax of the Galactic Confederation. We have captured your scout ship. We know about your planned Armada. Stand down your fleet or face destruction." The screen went dark. President Miller turned to Wright. "What Armada? We only have the one ship." "That's what I've been trying to tell you," Wright said. "There's been a horrible mistake." On the damaged Pathfinder, Captain Lisa Morgan sat in a small room with Science Director Zorani. Unlike Commander Sesson and Ambassador Krellfax, Zorani seemed willing to listen. "You must understand," Zorani said. "For years, we've received intelligence that humans were building many warships. We feared you planned to attack us." "That's not true," Morgan insisted. "The Pathfinder is an explorer ship. We didn't even know you existed until today." In another part of the ship, Engineer Jackson worked on the damaged systems. His hands moved quickly despite his injuries. Lieutenant Powell stood guard nearby. "Can you fix it?" Powell asked quietly. Jackson wiped sweat from his forehead. "Maybe. The main drive is badly damaged. But if I can reroute power through the backup systems." Powell lowered his voice. "We need to be ready if things go bad. The captain is trying diplomacy, but these aliens shot first and asked questions later." Back in the meeting room, Officer Rodriguez joined Morgan and Zorani with a small device. "I've adapted our translator," he explained. "It should help us communicate better." Zorani examined the device with interest. "Your technology is different from ours." "This approach, we hadn't considered it." Morgan leaned forward. "Director Zorani, please. There is no human Armada. Someone has given you false information." Zorani's eyes showed doubt. "But we have images, recordings." "They must be fake," Morgan said. "Earth barely managed to build one ship. We're years away from a fleet." On Earth, General Frank Nelson slammed his fist on the table during the emergency meeting. "We need to show strength," he shouted. "Speed up production of our other ships. Arm them heavily." President Miller shook her head and confirmed their fears. "No, we need to show them the truth." She turned to Commander Wright. "Prepare a complete inventory of our space capabilities. Every ship, every weapon, every plan. Full transparency." Wright nodded. "Yes, Madam President. And get me a direct line to whoever's in charge out there," she added. "We have 48 hours before their deadline expires." Outside the meeting room, scientists and engineers worked frantically to boost Earth's communication range. They needed to reach the Pathfinder and the aliens holding them. On the Confederation outpost, Ambassador Krellfax watched Earth's increased communications with suspicion. "See how they scramble," he told Commander Sesson. "They prepare for war." But Zorani had begun to question everything. The human captain seemed genuinely surprised by their accusations, and some details in their intelligence reports didn't add up. As the deadline approached, both civilizations stood on the edge of a war neither truly wanted, based on fears that had no foundation. And somewhere in the shadows, someone, or something, was pleased with the chaos they had created. Alarms blared throughout the Confederation outpost. Captain Lisa Morgan jumped to her feet as the room shook around her. "What's happening?" she asked Science Director Zorani. Zorani's blue face showed confusion. "This is not authorized. Someone is attacking the station." The door slid open and Lieutenant Powell rushed in. "Captain, we need to move now. The ship is ready enough to fly." As they ran through the shaking corridors, Zorani followed them. "Wait, I'm coming with you." Morgan looked surprised. "Why would you help us?" "Because this attack isn't from our main forces," Zorani explained between breaths. "Something is wrong. I need to find out what." They reached the docking bay where the damaged Pathfinder waited. Engineer Jackson had worked miracles with the repairs. Dr. Martinez helped injured crew members board while Officer Rodriguez monitored communications. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions," Rodriguez called out. "A group called the Purity Faction is claiming responsibility for the attack. They say they're eliminating the human threat before negotiations can begin." Morgan turned to Zorani. "Your people want to kill us before even talking." "Not my people," Zorani said firmly. "Extremists, Krell-Fax's followers. They act without council approval." Another explosion rocked the station. "We need to leave now," Powell urged. "We're sitting ducks here." Captain Morgan made a fast decision. "Everyone aboard. Zorani, you're coming with us as our guide." As the Pathfinder detached from the station, 3 Confederation warships appeared, weapons ready. "They're charging weapons," Powell reported. Morgan took the captain's chair. "Evasive maneuvers. Mr. Jackson, can we jump to light speed?" Jackson's voice came through the comm system. "Not back to Earth. We can make one short jump, but I can't guarantee where we'll end up." Morgan considered their options. If they returned to Earth, they might leave the alien ships straight there. If they ran deeper into space, they might find help or at least answers. "Set course away from Earth," she ordered, "toward the center of Confederation space." Powell looked shocked. "Captain, we're heading toward their territory." "Sometimes the safest place is the last place they expect you to go," Morgan replied. Back on Earth, Commander Wright worked frantically to piece together the fragments of data from the Pathfinder's transmissions. The signal was weak, but he caught glimpses of what had happened. "They're on the move," he told President Miller, "but not coming home." "Why would they head deeper into alien territory?" she asked. Wright studied the star maps. "Morgan's smart. She won't lead hostiles back to Earth." President Miller nodded. "Can we communicate with them?" "Not with standard equipment," Wright said. Then his eyes lit up. "But there is one way." He explained his plan to use the experimental long-range quantum communicator. It wasn't fully tested, but it might reach the Pathfinder. "Do it," the President ordered. Aboard the Pathfinder, Lieutenant Powell and Dr. Martinez worked together in the science lab, studying data they had collected during their brief time at the outpost. "Look at this," Martinez said, pointing to a screen. "Their weapons are incredibly advanced, but their drive systems are primitive compared to ours." Powell nodded. "They use more power but get less speed. Our jump drive is decades ahead of theirs." "Which means," Martinez continued, "they've been watching us for years but haven't figured out how we made this breakthrough." This realization gave them hope. Humans had something valuable to offer the Confederation if they lived long enough to negotiate. In the bridge, Rodriguez called out excitedly, "Captain, I'm getting a signal. From Earth." Morgan rushed over. "How is that possible at this distance?" "It's Commander Wright," Rodriguez said with a smile. "He's using the quantum communicator prototype." As the crew gathered around to hear news from home, Zorani watched them with new understanding. These humans weren't the warmongers Krell-Fax had described. They were explorers, problem solvers, and survivors. And now they were fugitives, just like her, running from those who feared what they didn't understand. The Pathfinder flew through space, staying ahead of the Confederation ships chasing them. In the quiet of the captain's office, Morgan, Rodriguez, and Zorani listened to intercepted communications. "Play it again," Morgan said. Rodriguez nodded and pressed a button. A deep voice spoke in the alien language. Zorani translated for them. "The ancient texts are clear," the voice said. "The precursors warned us about them. Divided beings who unite the stars through fire. It can only mean the humans." Morgan frowned. Precursors. Who are they? An ancient race, Zorani explained. They lived millions of years ago and left warnings about the future. Many of our people believe these warnings are sacred, and they think we're some kind of threat from an old prophecy. Morgan asked. Zorani nodded. The precursors said these divided beings would bring great change to the galaxy. Many interpret this as destruction. Rodriguez looked troubled. But we're just explorers. We don't want to hurt anyone. As they talked, the ship's computer beeped. A new message had been intercepted. This one was different. Not in any language they recognized. It's a data transmission, Rodriguez said, studying his screen. Heavily encrypted. Morgan turned to Zorani. Is this from your people? Zorani's eyes widened. No, this is not Confederation code. Through careful work, they managed to decode parts of the message. What they found shocked them. Look at this, Rodriguez said, pointing to the screen. These are faked images of Earth military exercises, but they've been altered to look more threatening. Morgan studied the images. Someone took our regular training operations and edited them to make it look like we're preparing for war. But who would do this? Zorani asked. And why? More decoded data revealed the answer. The Harvesters. An ancient machine intelligence that had been banished from the Confederation thousands of years ago. The Harvesters consume resources from planets, Zorani explained, her voice shaking. They were created as helpers but evolved to see organic life as inefficient. They were defeated long ago, or so we thought. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Krell Thax walked quickly through the grand hall of the council building. He carried new evidence that would finally convince everyone to attack Earth immediately. But as he entered his office, he found a strange data crystal on his desk. Curious, he inserted it into his computer. What he saw made his scales stand on end. Clear evidence of altered reports, faked images, false intelligence, all pointing to one conclusion. Someone had been manipulating the Confederation's fear of humans. As this realization hit him, a message appeared on his screen. Too late. The fleet launches today. Krellfax rushed to the council chamber, but the doors were locked. The decision had already been made. The Confederation fleet was heading toward Earth. On the Pathfinder, Engineer Jackson called the bridge. Captain, I found something strange in our communication system. Some kind of hidden device. Morgan and Zorani hurried to engineering. On a workbench lay a small metal object with blinking lights. It's Harvester technology, Zorani said after examining it. A monitoring device. They've been listening to everything we say, and probably broadcasting false messages too. Could they have planted similar devices on Confederation ships? Morgan asked. Definitely, Zorani replied. The Harvesters are masters of infiltration. Dr. Martinez joined them, bringing data from her own findings. I've analyzed their pattern. The Harvesters want humans and the Confederation to fight each other. While we're weakened from war, they'll swoop in and take over both our civilizations. Powell spoke up. We need to warn everyone, both our people and yours. But how? Rodriguez asked. The Harvesters are blocking our transmissions to anyone except Earth, and even our connection to home is limited. Morgan looked at her crew, determination in her eyes. Then we need to find a way to break through their interference. If we can't talk to both sides, we'll need to show them the truth. As they formed a plan, the ship's sensors beeped urgently. Jackson checked the readings and looked up with worry in his eyes. Captain, we have a bigger problem. The Confederation fleet has changed course. They're heading straight for Earth. The mood on the Pathfinder was tense. Captain Morgan gathered her crew and Zorani in the conference room. On the screen, they watched the Confederation fleet moving toward Earth. We have 3 days before they reach Earth, Morgan said. Not enough time for evacuation or to build defenses. Powell slammed his fist on the table. And our weapons wouldn't even scratch their ships. The room fell silent. The situation seemed hopeless. Then Captain Morgan spoke again. We need to think differently. We can't outfight them, but maybe we can outsmart them. Dr. Martinez had been quiet, studying data on her tablet. Now she looked up with excitement in her eyes. Captain, I've been analyzing the harvester technology we found on our ship. These machines have a weakness. They use a specific subspace frequency to communicate with each other. Engineer Jackson caught on quickly. If we could disrupt that frequency, we could break their control. Martinez finished. Zorani leaned forward. But how? The harvesters are spread throughout this sector. You would need to generate a massive pulse to affect them all. Jackson thought for a moment. Then his eyes widened. The drive. Our faster-than-light drive. What about it? Morgan asked. It works by creating a bubble of subspace, Jackson explained. If we modify it to pulse at the exact frequency the harvesters use, we could disrupt their entire network, Rodriguez said, understanding. Hope returned to the room, but it didn't last long. Jackson's face turned serious. There's a problem, he said. Modifying the drive this way would create too much strain. It would burn out completely after one use. Maybe worse. Worse how? Powell asked. Jackson took a deep breath. It could tear the ship apart. Everyone looked at Captain Morgan. The decision was hers. How long to make these modifications? She asked. About 2 days, Jackson answered. If we push hard. Morgan nodded. Do it. In the meantime, Mr. Rodriguez, I need a clear channel to Earth. They need to know what's coming. On Earth, Commander Wright stood in President Miller's office. They had just received the Pathfinder's message about the Harvester's manipulation and the approaching Confederation fleet. Options? President Miller asked. General Nelson stepped forward. We have missiles, fighters. We can put up a fight. Against an advanced alien armada. Wright asked. It would be suicide. Then what do you suggest? The President asked. Wright took a deep breath. Captain Morgan's plan might work, but they need us to do something unexpected. Something that shows the Confederation we're not what they think we are. Like what? Stand down, Wright said. Completely. Power down every military system we have. Show them we're not preparing for war. General Nelson's face turned red. Are you insane? You want us to be defenseless. I want us to show we're not aggressors, Wright replied. President Miller thought carefully. Finally, she nodded. Do it. Send the order. All military forces stand down. Back on the Pathfinder, the crew worked day and night to modify the ship's drive. Powell and Martinez converted the weapons systems to deliver the subspace pulse. Jackson worried over calculations, trying to find a way to protect the ship. Captain Morgan recorded a message to Earth. She sat alone in her quarters, facing the camera. Commander Wright, President Miller. Mom, Dad, she began. We've discovered the truth. The harvesters have been manipulating both sides, pushing us toward war. We have a plan to expose them, but it's risky. She paused, then continued with determination in her voice. Our one ship might accomplish what an armada never could. If we succeed, both our civilizations will be saved. If we fail, she took a deep breath. It has been my honor to serve with this crew. Morgan out. As she finished recording, Rodriguez called from the bridge. Captain, we've found the perfect position. A junction point where both fleets will pass. If we set off the pulse there, both sides will see the harvesters. Morgan nodded. Set course. It's time to show the galaxy what one ship can do. The Pathfinder floated silently at the junction point. Through the view screen, Captain Morgan could see the Confederation fleet approaching from one direction. From Earth's solar system, long-range sensors detected unusual movement. The harvesters are moving into position, Zorani said, pointing to blinking dots on the screen. They're invisible to normal sensors, but now that we know their signature, we can see them, Morgan finished. They're counting on both fleets destroying each other. The crew took their positions. Everyone knew what was at stake. Earth's future. The Confederation's future. perhaps the entire galaxy's future. "Status report," Morgan called out. "Drive modifications complete," Jackson reported from engineering, his voice tired but determined. "The pulse is ready." "Targeting systems aligned," Powell added. "We'll hit every harvester ship in the sector." Dr. Martinez looked up from her station. "But the feedback will overload our systems. We'll lose power completely." Rodriguez spoke from communications. "Final message from Earth received. President Miller says, 'We stand with you. All defenses powered down.'" Morgan nodded. This was humanity's statement to the galaxy. "We choose peace, even when facing destruction." "Time to arrival of Confederation fleet?" Morgan asked. 3 minutes, Powell answered. Morgan took a deep breath and stood. "This is it. When they arrive, we send the pulse." The minutes passed slowly. The crew looked at each other, exchanging small smiles, nods of encouragement, or simply watching the stars together one last time. Then the space before them filled with Confederation ships, huge vessels, weapons ready. "Now," Morgan ordered. Jackson pressed the activation sequence. The ship began to vibrate. The lights flickered as power redirected to the drive. "Power levels rising," Jackson called out, "reaching critical threshold." Outside, the space around the Pathfinder began to glow with strange blue light. The modified drive spun faster than it was ever designed to. The ship shook violently. "Pulse activating in 3, 2, 1. Jackson counted down. A blinding flash erupted from the Pathfinder. A wave of energy burst outward in all directions. As it spread, strange shapes began to appear in space, cloaked ships that had been invisible before. "The harvesters," Zorani gasped. "Their cloaking systems are failing." The pulse continued outward, revealing dozens of harvester ships positioned to attack both fleets after they weakened each other. On the Confederation flagship, Ambassador Krell Thax stared in shock at the suddenly visible enemy. "The humans weren't preparing for war," he whispered. "They were being set up. We all were." He turned to his communications officer. "New orders to all ships. Target the harvester vessels only, and someone contact that human ship." But on the Pathfinder, systems were failing rapidly. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, casting the bridge in dim red light. "Drive destroyed," Jackson reported. "We're dead in space." "But alive," Morgan said with a small smile. "Did it work? Did they see?" Rodriguez checked his equipment. Confirmation from the Confederation fleet. "They're engaging the harvesters. They've seen the truth." A cheer went up from the crew. Their mission had succeeded. A single ship had changed everything. 6 months later, the rebuilt Pathfinder floated in orbit around Earth. Its hull now bore both human and Confederation symbols. Inside, Captain Morgan, now Ambassador Morgan, welcomed representatives from 17 alien species. "This ship began our journey to the stars," she told them. "A journey we now continue together." On Earth, Commander Wright supervised construction of a new fleet. Not warships, but exploration vessels designed to work alongside Confederation ships. The ancient prophecy of the precursors was studied again with new understanding. Divided beings who unite the stars through fire didn't mean destruction. It meant humans, divided by nations and opinions, would bring their passion, their fire, to unite the galaxy in cooperation. As the first joint human-alien crew prepared to launch on the Pathfinder's next mission, Morgan stood on the bridge. She remembered their desperate flight, their impossible stand against 2 fleets, how a single ship had accomplished what an Armada never could. "Ready for launch, Ambassador?" asked the new captain. Morgan smiled. "The galaxy is waiting. Let's not keep it waiting any longer."